In this video, I'm going to show you how to format your manuscript for Amazon publication with Microsoft Word. Now, it's important to note a few facts. First, we're going to use the Microsoft Word .docx file directly for publication. There's no need to convert it to any other format. The other is that we're going to use a single manuscript for publishing both ebook and paperback. It turns out that Amazon Kindle ebook publication will just throw away running headers, page numbers, page size, margins, all the things that it doesn't care about, that paperback publishing cares about. So we're going to format one manuscript focusing on paperback publication and use that manuscript for ebook publication. Now let's jump over to Microsoft Word and get started. Here I am in Microsoft Word with a short document. I carved it down to just 3 chapters and then I stripped all formatting so that we can start from fresh. Now the first thing that I like to do is I like to have the navigation on the pane on the left so that I can see my chapters. So let's go to the View menu, down to the ribbon to the Show section, and we'll turn on the navigation pane. Now there's nothing here yet because we don't have any chapters formatted. The next thing that I do is I come up to Layout, and here I set the page size. Now, I'm going to go for more page sizes and put in my own custom page size. Now, it turns out that the cheapest page size is, for printing on Amazon is 6 by 9. So I'm going to use that for my initial publication. Now, I've heard it suggested that a writer wanted to do 5 1/4 by 8 to be more like a paperback size. This 6 by 9 is more like a trade paperback size. So later we'll come back and I'll show you how to change it to a different size. So this is already at 6 by 9, but we'll pretend like we're setting it to 6 by 9. I'll say, okay, there we go. So now we have our page dimensions. Now what I want to do is I want to come to Layout and I want to pick Margins. And I'm going to come to Narrow. So 1/4 inch margins all the way around. There we go. Now I'm going to come back to Margins and I'm going to say Custom Margins. Because what we want to do is a slight modification to the margins. The inside margin needs to be slightly larger because of the fold of the paper as it joins. The reader needs just a little bit more room to read the text. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to change multiple pages on Page Setup to mirrored margins. And then we're going to take the inside margin and we're going to change it to 0.75. So we have 0.5 inch on top, bottom, the outside, and we have 3/4 of an inch on the inside. And you click OK. There. Now on every other page, the 1/4 inch margin, 3/4 of an inch margin switches from left to right as we go through the document. And once again, the way to get to there is Layout, and then pick the little down arrow on Margins and come to Custom Margins and set mirrored margins and the inside margin to 0.75. Now that sets the orientation for everything. We don't need multiple columns. We don't need to change the orientation and so on. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to come to the Home menu and we're going to configure these styles. First, usually in in fiction writing, you use Times New Roman, and you have paragraphs indented 1/4 of an inch and no spaces between paragraphs. This is formatted for nonfiction, which is usually Arial, and it has a blank line between chapters and no indent. So let's come to Normal up here. This is once again on the Home menu. Come over to the Styles, go over Normal and right-click, and you'll see the Modify option. Now come down here, and I want to make the font Times New Roman. We're going to have to scroll down. Actually, what you can do is you can type it up here. Times New Roman. There we go. and then click on it. And I like a little bit bigger size. Now, 11 is kind of standard, 11-point text, but I like to bump it up to 12-point just to get the text a little bit larger. My eyesight isn't that great. I don't like microtext. Then what we do to format the paragraphs is we hit the format in the lower left and we hit paragraph. Now, what we want is 0 spacing before or after paragraphs. So get rid of the after spacing here, have that go to 0, and then come here to special and say first line, indent 0.33 inches. And that'll give you your indent. Let's say OK and OK to format it. Okay, now everything isn't indented. So what we're going to do is we're going to select everything by hitting Control A, and then we're going to set everything to normal. There we go. Now we've got everything indented the way that we want it. Now the chapters are indented too. We don't want that. Chapters are headings. So let's come to the heading, right-click on it, and say Modify. What I want it to be is Times New Roman, a little bit larger than 12. Let's make it 14 so it stands out. We'll make it bold. We'll pick the color to be the automatic color, and then we'll come to paragraph. Here on paragraph, we don't want to indent the first line of chapter headings, and we don't want any spacing before. Let's get rid of that. And we want 12 points of spacing after the chapter heading. So let's go OK on that. Now we don't have any chapters. So what we do is we scroll through our document, I select a chapter, and I say heading 1. Now the other thing that we want for chapters that I forgot, let's go right-click on this, modify it, go to Format, Paragraph, come to Line and Page Breaks, and we want a page break before the chapters. That's why we have no spacing before them. Okay, now our chapters come on new pages. Now what we've got to do is we've got to scroll through our document looking for chapter 2. Either that or come up to Find and type chapter 2. Here it is. Now we'll take that chapter and we'll make it a heading. Then we'll search for chapter 3. Here it is. We'll click on that and we'll make it a heading 1. And you can see now our navigation pane on the left shows all the chapters, and we can jump directly to them by clicking on them. That kind of formats your chapters. And look, chapter headings all of a sudden showed up. That's odd, because I'm about to add them. So let's come up to the top chapter, the first chapter, using the navigation pane. And oh, there aren't headers and footers other places. Not on page 1. That makes sense. So this is what we want to do. We want to add chapter headings and page numbers at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up and say Insert Header, hit the down arrow on it, and I'm going to pick 3 column. There we go. Now we want a different front page, and we want different odd and even numbered pages, because we're going to change the header on every page based on what's the outside of the page. Let's go ahead and format that, which we just did, and we'll close the header. Now on the first page, we don't want a header. That's going to be the title page. So let's go ahead and say Insert Header and come way down to the bottom to Edit Header. Okay, now this header, we're just going to completely get rid of. This is on page 1. There we go. And now let's scroll down to the header on page 2. And you can see what I've done is this is the outside of the page. This is the inside. So I want to say the title of the book, and this is, let's get rid of this so that we can put this in new. There we go. So on the very left, we want to say Sanderson House. This is a left page. Then we insert an alignment tab to align to the right. And we say Brian Jackson. This is the inside. And then I hit enter to get a little bit of space in here. And then I come to the other page. Now this is the alternate page, and let's get rid of this header, pretend like it wasn't here. There we go. And this is the inside of the page. So on this one, we want to go the opposite. Brian Jackson. Then we want to insert an alignment tab. This is all on header and footer. To align to the right. Okay. And then we say Sanderson House. And press a return. There, that formatted our headers. And we have now headers on all of the pages from page 2 on. On page 1, we don't have a header because this is going to be our title page eventually. Let's go ahead and close that. Now what we want is at the bottom of the pages, except for page 1, we want page numbers. So the page numbers are already here. To do this, we insert page number, hit the down arrow on it, and we want it at the bottom of page. Put them anywhere you want, but I'm going to put it at the bottom of the page in the middle. There we go. So on page 2, I have a page number. Now notice it puts some extra space afterwards, so you end up with a big bottom margin. Let's get rid of the extra space here so it comes down, and let's put an extra space in front of it. There we go. Now let's go to the next page, page number. Okay, we would exit, go to page 2. Now sometimes the page numbers don't show up on every page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to page 3, the alternate page, and I'm going to insert page number, hit the down arrow, bottom of page in the middle. There we go. And here's page 3, and you see it's reformatted it. Now here's once again our extra space down below that gives us a large bottom margin. Let's just delete that and then move the cursor in front of the 3 and hit a return to get a space in front of the 3 and exit. And that's our headers and footers. Now the only thing I think that we're missing here is the title page and so on. So let's go to our template. Now you're going to find templates in the description for this video that provide templates for both a fiction and a nonfiction book. Remember we talked about the paragraph formatting is different for nonfiction and fiction? Well, the two templates format paragraphs differently, so it does a lot of this work for you. You just have to fill in the blanks. Let's go look at the template. And here you can see is the title page. You put your title here, you put your subtitle here, your author, email. I like to put my email address on my website on the cover. If you don't want any of these things, like you don't have a subtitle, get rid of it. If you don't want your email and website URL here, get rid of it. The next thing I have is the copyright page. So change this to 2024, which is the current year, and the author. Make up a fictitious publisher name, and you got that made. Now, the other thing that I like to do is I like to put in a section which asks people to sign up to my mailing list. It's really important. People that just browse the book will actually see this, and they can sign up to your mailing list, and you can sell to them over and over again. Once again, if you don't want to have that in your book, get rid of that section. And then finally, a table of contents. Always have a table of contents. In fact, KDP will complain if you don't have a table of contents, even in ebooks, because the table of contents is used to build the ebook navigation facility. And then here comes the rest of the book. So normally I would use this template and I would fill it out and cut and paste my things into it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to the actual Sanderson House book, and here's what it looks like filled in. Okay, here's the title or the copyright page. Here's my sign up for my mailing or my newsletter. Okay, here's my table of contents. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all of this stuff. I'm going to scroll up to the top, put my cursor at the beginning, click, and hold my mouse down and drag it over this stuff, including the table of contents. Now here's where the book starts. I don't want that. Just get this stuff up front. And I right-click and say copy, and I bring it over to my book. Go to the beginning, right-click, and say Paste. And there I have my front matter. Now this, you would, if you already have a book, you could copy and paste it from the template and then just fill in the blanks for the template and you'll get the same thing, right? Fill in your copyright page, get rid of this if you don't have a mailing list. And then what you do with the table of contents is you right-click in the table of contents and you say Update Field. Now, every time that you change your book, you should update your table of contents because page numbers are going to change, new chapters are going to show up, and so on. Now, the other thing that I like to do is come here to sign up for a mailing list, grab this section, right-click and say Copy, go to the end of my book, and put this section at the end too for people that have finished reading the book so that I can get them on my mailing list again. Now, two cleanup things that I forgot to specify is go to the very top. One of the things you need to do is remove tabs from your document. So the way to do that is to go to the, by the way, tabs aren't liked because they mess up alignment in ebooks. So what you do is you go to Home and then you go to Replace and you say, so we want a special character. Go to More and then click Special and click Tab Character. And you see that is, if you want to just type it, is a caret T. That's a tab. So find all tabs and replace them with nothing. Replace all. I had 5 tabs in this document, so I got rid of them. The other thing that I like to change, let's go back to the top, and then my wife uses M dashes a lot. They're long dashes to instead of commas or like parenthetical asides and stuff. And what she does to do them is she types dash dash. And sometimes Word changes a dash dash into an M dash. Sometimes it doesn't. So I like to take dash dash, search for it, and replace it with the special character M dash. Let's replace all. And look, we found 2. So we just cleaned up this document a little bit. Now this I usually do first. I forgot to do it, so I'm telling you to do it now. Now the final thing that I do is I go to the end of each chapter. Let's come to the end of the table of contents and make sure that there isn't, what is this? The table of contents is messed up, so we might have to fix that. But I go to each chapter and I go to the previous chapter. So let's go to 2, let's go to the end of 1. And notice this, it has some blank space at the end. This on an ebook can create a blank page or even on a paperback. So we want to get rid of all extraneous space at the end of a chapter. Go to chapter 3 and back up to 2. Get rid of this extraneous space. Go to the last thing, back up to the end of chapter 3, and it doesn't have any extraneous space. There, we've cleaned that up. Let's do a save. Now, we have page numbers everywhere. We have running headers and footers. We have the right page dimensions. By the way, when you publish and set your page dimensions, make sure the page dimensions of your manuscript, 6x9, and your book cover is 6x9. And when you publish it as 6x9. Now, this book is ready for publication. I would save it, go over to KDP, and I would upload this manuscript for publication. This has everything in it. Oh, it needs, except for a broken table of contents. So let's just take the table of contents, remove it, and come down here to the table of contents and go here to References, Table of Contents, Insert Custom Table of Contents. I want ... I want to show page numbers. I want right aligned numbers. It doesn't matter how many levels. Now here I can pick a style from the templates. I'm just going to use the default, and I'll go ahead and say OK. There we go. Now we've got a normal looking table of contents. I don't know what happened to the last one. And let's get rid of this blank page that's down here. There we go. It should come up. We still have stuff here. There we go. You deleted my table of contents. Why are you fighting me? Okay. Undo again. There's our table of contents back. There we go. Have we gotten rid of this blank page yet? We have not. Click here, hit delete. We finally got rid of that blank page, but now it has changed that out of a head one. We make it a heading one. There we go. We've got it. So this book is formatted and ready to go now that the table of contents is correct. Let's save it, and we would upload it into KDP. Now, the other thing that I want to show you is how, if we wanted this to be a different size, okay, all I would do, let's say we want it to be 8 by 5 1/4, as one of my viewers suggested they wanted a size of that. I come to size, hit the down arrow, I go to more paper sizes, and I hit the width is going to be 5 1/4, and the height is going to be 8. There we go. And we say OK. Now, when you do that, one of the things that I recommend is that you don't go with the 12-point text because you're not going to get enough text on screen. If you go down to a smaller paper size, go to Home, right-click on Normal, and modify it down to 11 point instead of 12. And say OK. There we go. Now our headers are still 14 point. Let's go ahead and make them 12 points so that they're just slightly larger than our text now. And I think we have everything formatted now. Everything should, well, why isn't? All of these things are coming in as non-headers, so they're not changing. Why is that? I guess when I copied it, it messed things up a little. Make sure these are headers. They are head ones, and they're 12. That's good. These are all 12 pitch. This is now 11 pitch. So now I have reformatted the document for 8 by 5 1/4. Now remember, make your book cover 8 by 5 1/4. And when you publish at 8 by 5 1/4 if you're going to do this. Okay, everything's redone, but we're formatted at 5 1/4. So, or 5 1/4 by 8. So to get back, I like 6 by 9 for what I'm about to do. I come back up to layout, size, 6 by 9. Okay. And then I'm going to change my normal back to 12 and my heading back to 14. And there, now I'm back to where I was at the very beginning with my formatted document at 6 by 9. Now I'm still going to use 6 by 9, but the final thing that I do is I format a book for hardback large print. Now hardback, you print it, you upload it in KDP the same as you do a paperback, the same as you do an e-back book. But what you got to do is you've got to come to normal, modify it, and make all of your text at least 16 point. Now you can go even larger if you like large. There we go. So that's large print. And then we come to the header and we make that 16 point. Okay. Then we come to the very beginning. All this stuff isn't headers and stuff. So we need to make sure that it's 16 point. What is this? This is 20 point. That's good. Let's grab all this, all the copyright information, and whoop, there we go, down to the copyright information, and we will format that. Whoa, I shouldn't have right-clicked, for 12 point. And then let's come down to the table of contents, make sure that it's all 12 point. It isn't. So let's select it, and it actually is 12 point. Oh, I'm sorry, I want 16 point. So I select it all, and I go make it 16 point. And I come back to the header, and I grab all this stuff. I think I made it 12 point. Let's grab it all and make it, I did 16 point. And then I would file, save as, whatever my book is titled, which is Sanderson House Class Sample. And then at the end, I'd put -HB for hardback. Now I formatted and I have two manuscripts. I have one at 6 by 9 that I'm going to use to publish my Kindle ebook and my paperback. And then I've got one that's still at 6.9 but has 16-point text that I'm going to publish for my hardback large print. And that's how you format a book for publication.